Hi, everyone. Welcome to Code Platoon Virtual Info Sessions. I'm the host, Greg Drobny, Student Outreach and Recruitment Manager. As you can see on the screen, my email, greg@codeplatoon.org. I encourage you to email me with any questions you have that are not answered in this info session. We'll breeze through these slides pretty quick, and yeah, but please do feel free to email me if you have follow-up questions. Next slide. Today's agenda: who we serve, our programs, funding and scholarships, our application process, admissions prep, timings and deadlines, and also live Q&A. Yeah, next slide. Who we serve. First of all, we are a military and veteran focused organization. Veterans, military spouses, and service members using SkillBridge. Those are who make up the student body of our program. If you do not fall in one of those demographics, then that is not who we serve. That's how our organization was started, and so that's what we focus on. It enables us to do a lot of things and keep our program a little bit smaller than a lot of other programs out there. Yes, there are other coding schools who obviously accept veterans. We are the only school out there limited to the military and veteran community, which I think adds a lot to the camaraderie aspect in the program. And a lot of our students have commented on how much they enjoyed being, how well it worked for them in a transitionary period. Next slide, please. Our programs, we have basically two different programs, but they are offered in a couple of different ways. So our flagship program, the full stack immersive software engineering program, that is the primary program. That's all we've had up until this coming year. That is again, it's a full stack curriculum designed to train people to be software engineers. That's offered a couple of different ways. There's the full stack immersive in person, full stack immersive remote. It's important to understand these are the same program, the only difference being where you are sitting and the funding options available to you, but it's the same program. So if you were to enroll in a full stack immersive cohort, you would be in the program with people who are both, or you will be with some students who are in person, you'll be with some students who are remote. You're doing the same program at the same time with the same people, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. at least. I plan on longer hours than that for 15 weeks. Then we have our full stack evening and weekend remote option. That's the same curriculum as the full stack immersive program, but stretched out over 28 weeks. That happens on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursday evenings from 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Central Time, and Saturdays 8 to 5. Again, same curriculum. You're being trained to be a software engineer. So it's the exact same curriculum. You're not losing out there. The limitation there is that we only offer that remotely. That does not have an in-person option. That does change some of the funding options. We'll get into that as we go on. But in 2023, we are excited to debut a new program that we've never offered up to this point, and that's a DevOps engineering cohort. We're going to offer that both in the immersive route and the evenings and weekends model. Now, same breakdown in terms of time, the 15 weeks versus 28 weeks. The 15 weeks are going to be 10-hour days, 10 to 12-hour days for 15 weeks, and then the evening and weekend will be stretched out over the course of 28 weeks. Both of those are going to have the same limitations in terms of funding, but those are only remote options. We do not have an in-person class option planned for that at this time. Who knows what the future holds, but at this time, that's all we will be having. So DevOps and full stack engineering, we'll probably have a separate webinar to cover the differences there at some point in the near future. But if you want to email me about the differences, please do so, and I can happily get into a little bit more detail. And I think we'll cover that a little bit more as we go in this presentation. So, next slide. Funding and scholarship options. And here's where some of those differences come in terms of in-person versus remote. In-person full stack program has the most funding options, and this is simply because it has the in-person option. The GI Bill, the way the GI Bill actually functions is that it only works in person for programs like ours. And this is a VA rule, it's not our rule. The VA stipulates that for schools like ours, non-traditional schools, non-university type schools, you cannot use the GI Bill unless you are attending in person. But that is why they developed Vet Tech as a program. Vet Tech was created to address the shortcomings of the GI Bill. It works very well. It's probably the most common funding method of our students. It was designed for tech programs like ours, and it is now fully funded. Now, the only shortcoming Vet Tech ever had was that it had limited funding for a while. That appears that those days are gone with new funding coming in from Congress and the president, which is great news for all of us. That is, you can use Vet Tech on all of our programs, with the caveat that our DevOps engineering program, we do not have the approval from the VA for that yet. I will just stipulate here that we will be getting it, but as all things with government agencies go, they take time to get the approval. I cannot say anything dishonest here and say that we do have it, because we don't. So we do not currently have authorization to use Vet Tech for DevOps. We anticipate having that in 2023. We also use VR&E, also referred to as Voc Rehab, depending on who you talk to. VR&E is heavily counselor dependent. So VR&E works with individual counselors. Veterans work with counselors to try to find some type of training that helps them deal with injuries or certain limitations and integrate into the workforce. Effectively, if a counselor signs off on it, then absolutely we work with VR&E. We've done it in the past. It works great. And that can be eligible for all of our programs. But again, you do have to operate with a counselor at the VA. Finally, for those who do not have or do not wish to use a VA option, there are numerous scholarships at Code Platoon. That's a big part of what we do at Code Platoon. We seek to fundraise for scholarships for veterans who do not have a VA option. And because of that, we're able to offer numerous very generous scholarships, typically start around 80% of the tuition covered, sometimes going up to 100% coverage. And we make the application process very simple. All we ask is that you get accepted to the program first, then we help find the best scholarship for you. But those can be used for any one of our programs. And again, we have numerous very generous scholarships for all demographics. Next slide, please. We have a two-step application process. Part one is very simple and straightforward. It's simply an intake form asking a little bit about yourself, what you did in the military, where you're coming from, the experience level that you're bringing. Very basic intake form. Part two is where things get a little bit more complicated. Coding challenges, videos, and essays. And I'll get into this a little bit on the next slide, but a lot of schools out there are using this model. So this is not unique entirely. The top tier coding schools out there are all using the idea of evaluating their candidates before they get to the coding program. I encourage you that if you are shopping around, be very leery of a program that does not do this, because you will end up with a mass of students that have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And that's one of the things that we want to do here at Code Platoon, is let you know up front that this is it's an intense program. You're going to be doing some very intense work, and we want people to know that up front and going into the program. Next slide. So with that, a very common question we get is, if I'm coming to your program to learn coding, then why do I have to know coding in order to learn coding? That's a fair question, but we have the answer to that, and it's called Intro to Coding. This is a completely free self-paced course that we also offer in a live version, but it's designed for beginners. And the idea is that you put yourself through this program. Again, it's for beginners. You put yourself through it, and it prepares you for those challenges on the application. So once you've gone through this Intro to Coding class, that again is free, self-paced, and it has teaching assistants available to help on a Slack community dedicated to that, you can be prepared for the application challenges, to do well on them and get accepted to the program. For those who do not feel comfortable with the self-paced option, we also have the Intro to Coding Live option, which is a live remote class 3 nights a week over 3 weeks. Again, taught by a Code Platoon instructor and TAs, and it's limited to 30 participants. It's the same exact curriculum. The whole intent of this program is to help you do well on the coding challenges. And it's not a whole lot of your time, especially if this is something you're serious about. This is a great piece of training for little to no cost. We'll talk about that. I think that's on the next slide. But again, Intro to Coding is the answer to that question. We want people, again, to reiterate, we want people to know what they're getting into. This is a great way of doing that. It doesn't just help us evaluate whether or not you're right for the school. It helps you evaluate whether or not this is the right path for you. Do you really want to do this? And this is a good way of trying that out and figuring out what this skill set is all about. So next slide. Again, I said that little to no cost for Intro to Coding. Typically, we charge $50 for, I think it's $50 for Intro to Coding Live. However, we do have a free promo. If you're watching this video, then this Code Student Experience, when you go to sign up for that, gets you a free pass into Intro to Coding Live. So we encourage you to do that. The next course meets November 28th, through December 15th. Course will meet Monday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings from 6 to 9 Central Time. Registration deadline November 18th. Again, promo code Student Experience. Just use that when you go to sign up for this. And that's on our website, by the way. If you go to codeplatoon.org and at the top bar, you'll see an admissions prep tab. Just pull that down and you'll see Intro to Coding and Intro to Coding Live as an option. You click on the live one, it will bring you to the right place in order to sign up for that. Use that code Student Experience and get signed up. And Charles, the instructor who leads this, is great. He's fantastic about introducing these concepts to beginners. And he works currently in the software development industry. So he knows what he's talking about, but he's also a great instructor. Next slide, please. Upcoming cohorts and deadlines. As you can see, evening and weekend next available is going to be May 30 through December 9. Deadline for applying to that is February 19. So if you are starting this journey right now, as of October 27th, you have plenty of time to prepare. Those Intro to Coding classes, even if you're doing it self-paced and going slowly, by February 19 is extremely reasonable. That gives you plenty of time to prepare, get ready for it. Next, full stack software engineering immersive Tango Platoon. Now, our next available is February 6, but the deadline for that is October 30 to apply to it. And if you're coming to this brand new and you've never done coding before, I'm not going to lie to you, that would be a very tall hill to climb to be able to get an application in by October 30. Maybe you already know some coding, in which case, give it a shot. You can absolutely give our application a shot, try it. There are no negative points for trying and not doing well. We're not going to look down on you for giving it an attempt and trying again a second time. But after that, the next available is June 5th through September 15. Uniform Platoon, deadline to apply for that, March 5th. Once again, plenty of time to prepare. Victor Platoon after that, October 2nd. But then also we have the DevOps Engineering Immersive. April 10, July 21st, deadline to apply for that is January 8. Still plenty of time. You still have a couple of months to get ready for that. That should be more than enough time to go through Intro to Coding and do well on the application. Next slide, please. Oh, and a quick note on that before I mention what's on this slide here. The application for the DevOps and also for a software engineering full stack, same application, same exact application. You do the same thing, same requirements, same coding challenges. Everything is the same. There's enough overlap in these disciplines that we want people to come in kind of having the basic understanding of coding. And in fact, most people who work in the DevOps world, that's where they come from. They're software engineers who just became DevOps engineers because, quite frankly, we're one of the first, if not the first, coding boot camp that is going to have a dedicated DevOps curriculum. So people don't go to DevOps schools. We'll be one of the first, and I think we actually are the first. So they've kind of stumbled into that. So the point being, learning a lot of coding and understanding coding, at least at the basic level, is important for that job as well. So the application process is the same. Final note here, one of the greatest resources that we've used over the last 6 or 8 months was provided to us by a graduate of our program, and it's called My Code Platoon Journey. If you go to YouTube and you type in Code Platoon Kana, K-A-N-A was her name. She was a graduate of ours, Air Force veteran, military spouse, shares her journey in Code Platoon's immersive full stack software engineering program in this YouTube playlist. She basically gives a week-by-week breakdown on what she did at Code Platoon each week she was there. Fantastic resource. I think Kayla is putting it in the chat. It's just an invaluable resource for those coming to our program. They don't know what to expect. They're not sure what this is all about. What does a week at Code Platoon look like? There is no better resource we can give than a student giving an actual week-by-week breakdown. And she does a great job on top of the fact that she was a fantastic student. She was a rock star, did really well. And so yeah, go to YouTube, type in Code Platoon Kana, and you'll see her playlist. I've shared this with many students, prospective students, and they've all said that it was a great introduction to our program from an insider's perspective. I can sit here and tell you all day long about our program, but it doesn't do it justice unless you hear it from a student, having them tell you what it was like from a personal perspective. Link again is in the chat, but pretty simple to find. Code Platoon Kana on YouTube. Next slide. Any questions? Any questions at all?
As we're waiting, just wanted to say thank you, Greg, for that presentation. That was a lot of really good information about Code Platoon. You'll see on the slide that's up right now, Greg's email address and phone number if you would like to reach out with any further questions. Or if you have any questions right now, feel free to put those in the chat or in the Q&A and we'll get to them. The chat also has some links I added during the presentation, including the link to register for Intro to Coding Live with that promo code Student Experience to attend for free, as well as Kana's My Code Platoon Journey.
Yes, thank you, Kayla. And again, my email there on the screen, that's what I'm here for at Code Platoon, is to answer questions for prospective students. Any questions you have that are of the non-technical sort, I'm not going to be the one helping you solve coding problems, but in terms of understanding what we do at Code Platoon, what the opportunities are in this industry, or even just general career choices, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you navigate that process, here to help veterans kind of figure out what it is their next steps are and what it takes to become part of this world. So if you have questions for me and want to talk on a personal level, please email me. We can set up a time to talk on the phone or just email back and forth. I'm happy to do either.